full-fledged battle or take a fortification. The French at Fort Duquesne are actually very weak in the fact that they are low on ammunition, low on supplies, and many of their native allies have actually made their way home. And then on the 60th Regiment as well. You're also going to hear some of the drum commands that are being given, as well as the bagpipes, very characteristically of those Highlanders.
Nobody's falling down.
And on the right, you're going to notice for the British perspective, and you can probably see a little bit of the top of them from the French perspective, that now the provincials have come out of the fort as well to form another front that will be able to move against the French flank. And moving forward, there will be Virginians, Marylanders, and Pennsylvanians. Also, while you're listening and you hear that musketry, you hear that musket fire, you hear different languages, you have different commands, different instruments, all of this will be going on while this battle actually occurred on October 12th. Now this battle, and the raid, as I said, actually occurred across where Route 30 is at today. Right where many of your cars are parked. The provincials moving on the right again to hopefully expose that flank of the French. They're still hearing some of the artillery pieces, the swivel gun being utilized, of course those muskets that they're using, the average infantry soldier. But the artillery pieces would have been a huge contribution to this raid, and as many of the French are now removing themselves from the fortification, they're pulling back as they realize they're not able to take this fortification. And the French appear to be reforming outside of the fortification. Again, while they have been pushing up in here, many of their auxiliaries have been driving off the cattle and horses, and to hopefully push back the French permanently, the regulars have decided to proceed out against them. So at this point, they have defended the fortification. And that big boom means they're helping to push those French soldiers and those French raiders away. As the army moves out, away from the fortification, we'll hopefully be able to push those French raiders even further back all the way to Fort Duquesne. can see that the provincials have began to man the walls. Again, utilizing this fortification exactly how it should be used, to provide covering fire for the rest of the army. Now, General Forbes was actually not at the fortification on October 12th. Instead, he was back further along the road behind the rest of the army. The reason why this was because the man was incredibly ill. He was actually so sick at points during this campaign he could not even walk. Colonel Henry Bouquet, his second in command, was actually not at the fort either when it was under attack. And the young colonel from Virginia, George Washington, also was not here. Instead, it was Colonel Byrd who held down the fort on October 12, 1758. But through the use of that artillery, and with the French finally heading back to Fort Duquesne, it was going to lead now General Forbes to make some decisions. Since that attack had come in October, and General Forbes did not arrive till November, that meant that winter was on its way. General Forbes originally made the decision that they should stay in winter quarters and renew the attack in the spring upon Fort Duquesne. But there was an incident that occurred with a group of Virginians and that young Colonel George Washington that was a friendly fire incident. Roughly 2 miles from here, and they were able to find 3 French stragglers in the woods and captured them and brought them back to this fortification. When they questioned them, they found out that Fort Duquesne was very, very weak. And General Forbes, with this new information, and also the fact that negotiations with many of the Ohio tribes had gone well, he decided to actually reverse his decision and move to attack Fort Duquesne immediately. As General Forbes would move this army forward to what we know as Pittsburgh today, there would actually be no battle outside of Fort Duquesne or any siege. Instead, the French would actually ignite their powder magazine and burn the fort and leave. The idea that if they could not have it, then this massive force under General Forbes that they simply could not withstand, they would not be able to have it either. So you're going to see that those Crown forces outside have fixed their bayonets and are moving to push the French off the field with a wall of spears. And as they do that, many of those French Marines are now moving very quickly back to Fort Duquesne. So when General Forbes arrived at the charred remains of what had been this fortress, Fort Duquesne at the point, he claimed it for the king and would then make his way back to Philadelphia. But later, the British would then construct a fortification there called Fort Pitt, and that is how we get Pittsburgh today. So as these British forces have successfully defended the fort, let's give all of our interpreters a round of applause. Both British and French, of course. Let's keep it going for them. They come from a long distance to come share this history with you today. And just because this raid and this campaign was over, it did not mean that the war was over. Folks, this was a global conflict called the 7 Years' War that the French and Indian War was just a very small part of. And it was because while we are here today and we remember this history that happened over 260 years ago, we remember that not only is it our local history, but it's global history as well. So for those in the British perspective, let's give them a hero's welcome. They just defended you. And also, I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsor for this today, and it's going to be Markowski Engineering, so if we could give them a round of applause too. We appreciate all those who help us here at the fort. We also appreciate all of you. If you didn't come and support something like this, we wouldn't be able to tell this story for you. It's a story that is so drastically important. And it is truly the reason why we even have Fort Ligonier Days. So the Army is going to move in front of the crowd here. Folks, I ask you to please stay where you're at. They're going to police the field. It's all because of safety. Same with the French perspective down below. If you could please stay behind the rope line until I let you know. And then after this, we will then be able to move up into the fort and to go about your day. So again, like I said, they're going to police the battlefield, taking up those cartridges.
Full-time job? So when did Forbes actually arrive at Fort Duquesne?
He arrived at the end of November.
How many troops did he take from here?
Well, the thing is, the Army that has 6,000 will take about
And this is 3 years after Braddock's defeat.
Excellent volleys, excellent program. You ready at a moment's notice? No later than 3:10. Ground forces, shoulder y'all, file off. Shoulder y'all, file off. Ground forces, unit commanders, dismiss your men as per your issue. Dismiss! What's coming in? Carry on, hold up! To the left! To the front! Left! To the right! Wheel! Make way for the Kingsman!
Make way for the Kingsman!
Make way, make way.